The least.
Anybody ever felt unqualified? Insignificant? Like you didn't even matter in your own house? You got to back up the story. Even in his own house, they labeled him as being insignificant. Think about it. The prophet was coming and we didn't even care enough about him to invite him in. Yet God says, that's my man. That was a death sentence put on the children of Israel. They were getting ready to wipe them all out. Because the enemy was afraid that if they kept growing at the rate they were growing, they would numerically outnumber the enemy and take over. A female and a foreigner. Now she was a foreigner. One, she didn't belong. She's a female, which means her gender disqualified her from even being able to talk to certain people. Yet God says, you were born for such a time as this. Can I make a declaration in the prophetic realm? You were born for such a time as this. When chaos breaks out, when dysfunction breaks out, when all hell breaks out in your family, and it seems like everybody's going crazy, you were born for a time like this. I'm a history buff, and in American history, one of the most chaotic times in America was during the 50s and 60s when black folks and white folks couldn't get along, and it was real bad for black men. And God says, I need a leader to lead black folks in America. And God went down and found a young black preacher and said, Martin, you be the leader. He was too young. He should have been disqualified by his age. And his denomination told him, Martin, don't get involved in that. That's not the church's business. Yet God said, Martin, I'm going to give you a dream. Has God given anybody here a dream? Has God spoken to you? Has God told you, don't settle for what you're seeing right now? There's more to life than this. Has God told anybody? And God has spoken. Let the voice of God cancel every report you've ever heard.
Jesus. Glory to God this morning.
In the text, God says, Gideon, you are a mighty man of valor. God said it.
God said it.
Who is Gideon?
Come on.
When I first introduced Gideon, said he was working in his father's wine press. Now I don't know the pecking order of careers during that time. And I looked up what a wine press worker did. It was a dirty job. Filthy job. Everybody else was enjoying the byproduct of his labor.
Yes, Lord.
Grapes produce wine. But he was back there crushing grapes. He would go home with grape dye all over his body every day.
Come on.
Dirty and sweaty. He had what you would call a insignificant job. He had what you would call a minimum wage job. He had a job of a servant. He had a job that nobody else wanted.
Jesus.
But watch this. God takes the man who had what looked like an insignificant life. And God calls him mighty.
Jesus.
And Gideon responds to the voice of God was saying, but God, don't you know I'm from a dysfunctional family? And Gideon says, not only am I from a dysfunctional family, but I am the weakest of a dysfunctional family. In other words, let me make it make sense to you for the non-church goer. What Gideon was saying, God, the men in my family all rode the bench. And I'm so sorry, I couldn't even make a team to ride the bench. And you call me mighty?
Come on, Pastor Deckard.
Gideon didn't have any money.
Come on, Pastor Deckard.
And I'm the brokest of all of them. And you call me mighty? Gideon says, the minute my family can't keep a wife, and I'm so sorry, I can't even get a wife to lose. You call me mighty?
Come on, Pastor Deckard.
Am I making sense?
Yes, Lord. Press your way,
See, Gideon was traveling down a road or a path, and he was following other people's opinion of him.
Come on, that's good.
Gideon had bought into
Other people,
what
come on.
other folks said about him.
Yeah.
Gideon was living his life based on the path somebody else had laid before him. And many of you today, you are where you are
Jesus.
because you're following somebody else's direction.
Jesus.
You're using somebody else's compass.
Jesus.
You are landing in a place that God never prescribed for you, but you let them tell you where you belong. All his life, Gideon had been told, you are weak. We all weak, but you the weakest.
Get away from them people.
I hear people tell me, Pastor, pray for me. I'm not doing that good, but I'm doing better than so-and-so. Weak people always want to compare themselves with somebody they think is a little weaker. So the men in Gideon's family, to make themselves feel better about their dysfunctional ways, would always tell Gideon how bad he was. And Gideon bought into it. Parents, it's critical.
It's very critical.
You stop telling your kids negative stuff about their fathers.
That's right.
Because if I was creating my father's image, and you keep telling my father a dog and no good, and what you're doing is you paint a picture and an image that I will buy into, that I am a dog, that I am no good.
Jesus.
Parents, start telling your kids, I can do all things through Christ, which is me. Stop telling them we can't afford to do this. You can't go to that school. Downsize your dream. No, let your child dream the dream of a dreamer, and you figure out how to connect with God and touch and agree with God, and you make a different path for your children. Don't allow your children to grow up feeling like Gideon. I'm from a jacked up family, and I'm the jackest of all. I know that was demonic, but you got it. So what happens when Gideon hears from God, but instead of responding, he replies with a bunch of negative stuff? Gideon had the audacity to ask God, don't you know who I am? The same God who created him, the same God that woke him up, the same God that gave him hands and eyes. He asked him, don't you know who I am? Don't you know what I've been through? Today, many of us have been through some horrifying stuff. Today, many of us have been through some real-life threatening situations. Today, many of us have experienced nearly losing everything we've had. Many of us have had people walk away from us, people hurt us, people abused us, people gone. Many of us have been through some very difficult situations, and many of us have made some very bad choices.
Yes, Lord.
Yet, God still speaks. Yet God still calls. Yet God still loves. Yet God's mercy still flows. Yet God still says there's a chance and an opportunity for you.
Yes, Lord.
You should have been shouting right there.